This fall, we're done just setting goals. We're becoming the women who achieve them. I spent over a decade stuck in the cycle, big dreams, zero follow through, until one habit changed everything. I didn't try harder. I became her. The version of me who shows up, follows through, and creates real results. Now, for the very first time, I'm taking a small group of women through a 12-week journey to do the same. Establish one powerful habit that transforms everything. If you're ready to stop stalling and start becoming, click on the link in the show notes and get on that wait list. I totally love you, and I can't wait to send you that very first email. Hello, and welcome to From Impossible to Inevitable. This is episode 168, and I am your host, Megan Bauer, of course. Thank you for joining me today and pushing play on today's episode. So I heard someone say something as I was out and about, living my life, doing my thing, just being normal Megan out in the world. And it was one of those things, you know how sometimes you can hear something and you're like, wow, that really resonates. Like I need to, that means something, that hits. And then you can hear things that are like, what? That's so no thank you. Like unsubscribe, not something that I am even going to engage with, that I just refuse this concept. And what I heard someone say was, life is a chore. And I was immediately just like, what? No thanks. Why would anyone want to walk around with this view of life, with this mindset of life, with this filter in front of their perception of what life is? Now, I'm very careful to ever put the this is this belief, because that is such a powerful, powerful belief to install. So if you install the belief of life is a chore, this is what life is, this is just what it is, you are setting yourself up to notice all of the chores, to be in chore mode, to do only chores, to live in this place where the majority of your existence is experiencing chores. Now, life has chores. There are chores in life. That is part of it. That is part of the whole life thing. But to say that life is a chore is a completely different vibe. Totally different vibe. My life has chores. I do chores. You know, I run errands. I clean the house. I make dinner. I do chore things. And I would never say life is a chore. So what would I say? I'd say life is an adventure. Life is made up a lot of how you choose to see things. I would say life can be surprising. I'd say life gets to be delightful. I would say a lot of things, but I would be very careful about making a blanket is statement about life. And if I chose to say that life is something, I would actually spend some real time on what I wanted that label to be. Because what you label it, that's what you're going to experience. That's what you're going to find. That is how you are going to view everything that you do. Whether you want to do it or not, you've already set yourself up for this vision, this view of it being a chore. And then you set yourself up for this like resistance, because nobody wants to do chores. That's why they're chores. You don't necessarily want to do them. And so there's always this little bit of resistance of like, oh, I'd rather not, but I need to, or I'd rather not, but I should, I'd rather not, but I want it done. So there's this resistance there. And so labeling your life as a chore, you're building in this resistance to life. What? What? It totally blew my mind that anyone would set themselves up for this sort of view, for this sort of perspective, for this label on life. Um, I was at the store yesterday with my little, and she's now 6. And we were walking out. We had just bought a few things. We were walking out, and above the door it said, "Thank you, enjoy your day," above the door. And she was like, she read it, and she's like, "Thank you, enjoy your day." She's like, "That's so silly. What are they thanking us for?" And I was like, "Well, we spent money here, and they are thanking us for spending money here, for, shopping here and being here, and that's what they're thanking us for." And then I said, I was just kind of being silly, but I was like, then they're telling us what to do. They're telling us to enjoy our day. And she was like, "Yeah, that's silly too." And I was like, "Yeah, what if we don't want to enjoy our day?" And she's like, "Everyone enjoys their day." And I was like, "Actually, it's not true." And she looked at me like, "What? People don't enjoy their day?" Like, she was mind blown that people wouldn't enjoy their day. And she does have hard days. She says, out of her mouth, she says, "I'm having a hard time right now." Or, you know, I'm, she wouldn't say I'm struggling, but she says, "I'm having a hard time." And so she knows what it feels like to not be having she knows what it feels like to not be enjoying a moment, to not be enjoying a space of time. But overall, this kid enjoys her day. She also expects to enjoy her day. And the fact that she was completely surprised that anyone would not enjoy their day was really illustrative to me on how she engages with life. And she's not always happy. We serve things at dinner that make her quite unhappy. We say no to a lot of things. She is not always happy with what's going on and what decisions have been made and what rules are in place. Um, and the overall of her day is that she enjoys it. And I told her, I was like, that is a choice. Like, we can have these hard times. We can be unhappy about things. We can be upset about what has happened, or we can be upset about whatever. That's normal. That's part of the human life, just like chores are. It's part of it. And we can always take a step back, take a breath, and choose to think of things differently. Here's another example of that just happened recently. On Sunday, we decided to go to the pool. And we have a pool in our community, and we could walk. We could very easily walk. It's not that far. But we usually drive just because I don't want to carry all the stuff. And so we are getting in the car, and I open up the back to put our swim bag in, and I realized that I left my leftovers from the previous night's dinner in the car. And I was like, "Oh, that sucks." I knew I was going to forget it, and I did forget it, and that's a bummer. But the bad thing was that it stunk up the car. And I was like, "Well, great." Kids jumped in, they didn't care, whatever. Of course, I threw out the leftovers, and Jake comes out and he's like, "The car stinks." And I'm like, "I know, I'm sorry." And he's like, "Okay, well, I'm going to take my car." And I was like, "Okay." And he had to leave. We knew he had to leave the pool early because he had to get ready for a meeting anyway. So whatever, we just took both cars and we went to the pool. He comes home earlier before us, and the garage door is broken. Like, you can totally go in and see where the spring snapped. And, immediate reaction is like, that sucks. That sucks a lot. But by the time I got home, I was like, what a freaking blessing that I left my leftovers in the car, which stunk up the car, which caused us to take both cars, which allows us to have both cars while the garage is broken. I was like, this is a freaking miracle. We could have walked. And usually when we do walk, we go out the garage. And so we still would have used it, and it still would have broke. We could have just taken one car. We could have been like, okay, my car stinks. Let's just take your car. We could have done any number of things that would have kept both of our cars in the garage or one of them in the garage with the garage door broken. And this thing is like freaking heavy. Like, I'm sure we could have figured it out, but it was so much easier this way. It was so much easier to just have both cars out and we didn't even have to worry about it. But the thing was, we could have gotten all upset. Oh, the garage door's broken, blah, blah, whatever, drama. Instead, I was like, we have both cars. And that's awesome. And I'm so glad that however long it takes for us to get somebody over here to fix this, we have access to both cars and we're not restricted in any way. And we didn't have to like figure out how to get the garage door open and blah, 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 all of that drama. We just had what we needed. And isn't that incredible? So you see how you have a choice there, right? The undesirable thing is that the garage is broken. And we could get upset, and we were both a little just like, "Ugh, that sucks." And Jake even said he was upset for a minute, and then, by the time he came inside and took a shower and everything, he was like, "Well, whatever. It's a garage and it's fine." But we made that choice. And the other part to that too is that we've been practicing making these choices. We've been practicing shifting our perspective, shifting our mindset, looking for the benefit, looking for how this actually worked out for our favor. We practice that. And so then when something comes up like the garage door broke, it's not so hard. And we went on to have a really great day. And we have had great days since then, even though it's like, oh, we can't go out that way. We got to go out the front door now. Like we can't go out that way. Redirect because we've got this habit of garage door, garage door, garage door every time we leave the house. That's just our normal way of leaving. Um, and here's another perspective shift for you. Okay. On this thread of life is a chore, and it is what you choose to see. It is how you choose to see it. When my sister was on hospice, I remember two instances specifically when it really hit me about her being near the end of this human experience as we experience it. The first one was I think this one was first. I was sitting in traffic. And during this time, the girls were still in school. And when the girls are in school, I spend a lot of time on the road. We don't educate them in our neighborhood school, we educate them elsewhere. And so I spend a lot of time on the road. That's just part of it. And so I was in traffic coming home from school and I was annoyed. I just want to get home. I just want to get my girls home so that we can get dinner, so that we can get homework done, so that we can get showers done, so that they can get in bed, so that I can get in bed and we can do this whole thing over again tomorrow. But as I was sitting in traffic, I thought about my sister and I thought, she's never going to sit in traffic again. Like, that's over for her. She will never sit in traffic again. And I was struck with gratitude in that moment that I was sitting in traffic. I was like, I'm actually really grateful to be sitting in traffic. Here's what this actually means. This means that my girls go to school where I want them to go to school. This means that this experience that I have created for them and myself is something I did intentionally, and the traffic is just part of it. The traffic is just one of the things that comes with it. It comes with living where we live and educating them where we educate them. And I was just like, actually, I'm really grateful to be sitting in this traffic right now because of what it means. This is optional for me. I don't have to school them where I school them. But because that's what I want, this is part of it. And I'm grateful to be sitting in traffic today and tomorrow and the next day because of this beautiful life that I am creating for the girls and for me and for our family and what that all means. And I'm grateful to be experiencing it and to be a part of it and to know that this part isn't over for me right now. So traffic is just an indicator of what I wanted, what I created. And that was such an interesting perspective shift for me because I don't love traffic. Who loves traffic? But when you look at what the indicator of traffic is, when you see that it is the result of something else that you do want, then it shifts. Then I can go from being annoyed to being grateful. And of course, I do intend to eliminate this commute. That is something that we will do. We will eliminate this commute. We will move. That will be, that's part of it too. That will be a thing. We just aren't right there yet. And that's okay. So until we are there, this is part of it. And I can choose to be grateful for that. Very similarly, the second instance was I was standing at the bank and I was like, I'd rather not be standing at the bank and standing in line at the bank, right? It's like, I'd really wish that I could just come in, go directly to a teller and like move on with my day. But as I was standing there, I was thinking, my sister will never stand in line at the bank again. That part of things is over for her. And I was like, actually, I'm really grateful to be standing in line at the bank because I have this moment of quiet and reflection where no one's needing me. I'm doing what I need to do because my life gets to continue, because I get to, being in line at the bank, that's forward thinking, right? Like that I've got to do this now because I need this later, because I am preparing for this. And that's really interesting. And those could be considered chores, right? They're errands, chores, whatever. They're undesirable, quote unquote, parts of life. But when you really get down to it, they're just part of something that I do want in my life. They're just part of things that I actually want. So, yes, cleaning the house is a chore. But you know what? I want the clean house. And who says I can't choose to like hire somebody to clean that house for me and eliminate that for me? I could do that too. And it's not about having to do all the chores. It's not about not having to do all the chores. It's not about either of that. It's really about how you're looking at your life, what you're choosing to focus on and what you're choosing to see, and what that means to you. Really, what that means to you. What are you making that mean? Because you could definitely choose to just be exhausted by life, by all the things that you have to do. And over the summer, I get there. I get there a lot. Last week, I was there like every day. I was like, everything's exhausting. Like, why do I have to do so many things? And the reason I was there was because of the things that I actually wanted. Part of the thing that made last week crazy was that our oldest was doing this middle school summer camp. And so we were taking her, and by we, I mean I was taking her to the school and waiting around for 3 hours. Some days I had the little with me, and some days I got to work, and it was fine. But this 3 hour camp made things tricky. It made things feel a lot busier. And then she had other activities, and of course, I want to get stuff done, and there still are chores, and there still all are errands, and there still are other responsibilities and other commitments and all of that. And it made the week very full and very hectic and very crazy. And so I totally get to that point too, where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm doing a lot of things that I don't want to do. And that was just that week. It's not my life. It was like, okay, I need to give myself a little extra grace this week. I need to allow myself to take a nap. I need to allow myself to go get a soda. I need to allow myself to do whatever I need to do to bring some joy and delight into this really hectic, really crazy week. Because ultimately, the result is what I wanted. I wanted her to go to that camp. I wanted to fulfill my responsibilities. I wanted to get the chores done. I wanted to work. I wanted to do all of those things. And so I did all of those things. And it made the week full. It made the week very full. But it was actually what I wanted. So when I step back and I'm like, you know what? My weeks aren't usually this crazy. It's going to be okay. I'm going to be glad that we did all of this next week when it's not so wild. Okay, so I want you to think about that. If you feel like you have been living into this perception or a similar vein perception of life as a chore, please reframe that. Please take some time on what you really want to label life as and look for the evidence of that. If you label life as a chore, everything you see is going to be a chore. It's all going to feel heavy. You're going to feel like you just don't get to do what you want to do, or like that you're just a robot in this existence. And that isn't ideal. That's optional. You don't have to feel that way. You get to choose what it means. You get to choose how you label life. If you label it, I don't feel like I label life unless it's like life is an adventure. I can say I subscribe to that one. But I don't walk around feeling like life is like I don't know. This just isn't in the forefront of my mind. Which is probably why it really caught me off guard that one, anyone would label life as something and that if you're going to choose a label, it would be so negative. But if you need a label, choose it intentionally because that's how you will see things. That's how you will interact with life. That is what you will experience. Choose that carefully, very carefully, and then reframe the chores that you do have. And if you can't get behind it, see if you can outsource it, right? Like, see if you even have to do it. Or maybe you don't. Okay. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I so love you. I so appreciate you. And I hope that your life is not a chore. I hope it's way more than a chore. I hope that this helps reframe things and bring in a fresh perspective on how you see the things that you have to do or need to do or whatever, because it is what you make it mean. It is how you see it. And you get to choose that totally in your power. Okay, that's what I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. I totally love you. Until next time. Bye for now.